Hey everyone, this is Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel, over here doing another guest review for organicpricedbooks.com. And today we're going to be doing an overview of the Gwenpool Omnibus from Marvel Comics. But first, here's some more information about this collection. The issues in this volume were written primarily by Christopher Hastings, Kelly Thompson, and Leah Williams, and illustrated primarily by Guru Hiru, Irene Strichowski, and Stefano Caselli. The comics in this volume were published by Marvel Comics beginning in about 2015. The volume itself collects The Unbelievable Gwenpool, issues 1 through 25, Rocket Raccoon and Groot, issues 8 through 10, Champions, issue 5, Edge of Venomverse, issue 2, West Coast Avengers, issues 1 through 10, Superior Spider-Man, issues 7 and 8, Gwenpool Strikes Back, issues 1 through 5, and material from Howard the Duck, issues 1 through 3, Gwenpool Special, issue 1, Gwenpool Holiday Special Merry Mix-Up, and Secret Empire Brave New World Not Brand Ek, issue 14. And finally, this oversized hardcover edition comes with a sewn binding, nice glossy print paper stock, and a total of 1,184 pages. Now, while you've been looking at my cover for this omnibus, you should know this is the direct market cover for this omnibus. I'll throw up a picture of the standard edition cover for you to compare. I honestly really liked both of the covers, so very well done, Marvel. You can see the back of the dust jacket here. Really love the art. It's pretty indicative of a lot of the art style you'll see inside the book itself. There is kind of an anime manga quality to the artwork, which I did really like for the series. And now I'm going to take a minute to do one final look at the dust jacket along with the interior flaps of that dust jacket before we transition over and take a look at the under the dust jacket art they printed on the hardback book itself. I always like to do this to give collectors or prospective collectors out there an idea of what they can expect when they purchase this book. Like I said, I really like the design choices here. It is kind of interesting that the color for the dust jacket went for purple when so much of the color scheming seems to be pink. I think pink would have been a more logical choice. But other than that, I really did like the design of this dust jacket. I actually like that bluish purple color. Very, very nice stuff. As far as the under the dust jacket artwork, it's a wraparound print based on an issue toward the beginning-ish of this omnibus, a really key interaction between Gwenpool and Doctor Strange. Overall, really lovely art here. I think it's really indicative of some of the art you can expect in the book itself, which is always a nice added facet. And now I'll just do a spread so you can see the wraparound art I'm talking about here. Really, really good stuff. A good reproduction of a very key issue in the mythos of Gwenpool. Really well made, a nice omnibus here. And now that we're done with the exterior work, I do want to take a look at the binding. Like I mentioned, it is going to be a sewn binding. I personally didn't really have too many issues with gutter loss through my entire read-through. You can see as I flip through the book and make your own determination there, but I think that this volume is really well bound, and I, for one, had no issues. Yeah, my book even had a little bit of an eye in the binding, so it opened up really nicely for me. Really, really well done. And now that we've done that, we can actually transition into the book itself. Yay! Diving into the overview portion, Gwenpool was basically created by Chris Bachalo, who created this character for a variant cover for Deadpool's Secret Wars. It was basically conceived as an amalgam of Gwen Stacy and Deadpool during a time when Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, was very popular, so all of these variant covers were all kind of doing all these amalgamations of Gwen. Well, Gwenpool on this variant cover ended up being so popular, I think she became a really big cosplay kind of preference for a lot of people at conventions, things like that. Anyway, it was enough for the Marvel heads to basically give her kind of some appearances in the comics, give her her own kind of limited little special series, kind of stuff like that. And then they were off to the races with Gwenpool. Now, a note for those that have never read any Gwenpool content, I will say you might be surprised to learn that Gwenpool is actually not at all related to Gwen Stacy or Deadpool as characters. No, she's entirely her own character, Gwendolyn Poole, with an E at the end, who is basically, from our world, from the real world, where all of these other Marvel heroes and villains are all characters in comic books. For some indeterminate reason, she has found her way into the Marvel 616 mainstream comic book universe, but she has all of her memories, of course, from the real world where all of these characters are comic book creations. She goes to a costumer and tells her name, Gwenpool. The costumer basically thinks that she is some kind of derivative of Deadpool, and ergo the costume is created. But she really has no bearing on the Deadpool character other than that. And I do think it's interesting because, like Deadpool, she's known for breaking the fourth wall, but in a much more specific way. Where Deadpool might be aware of the audience and that he's in a comic book, Gwenpool is actually from our world, presumably, so her perspective on the fourth wall breaking is a lot more interesting and layered. Because of this too, her kind of special talent is that she has all of this hidden knowledge and information for all of these Marvel characters, heroes, villains, secret identities, and so on and so on and so on. That definitely leads to a lot of great character conflict moments and really sets apart Gwenpool from the rest of the Marvel canon characters for the way that she kind of is approached in this way. What's interesting though is because she's kind of a regular girl, she does not really have a lot of combat proficiency in the beginning of this book, and she's a little bit manic in some of her early appearances. In fact, she almost treats the Marvel Universe, well, frankly, like a video gamer might when they first play a Grand Theft Auto game, just kind of going on a criminal crime spree, no real consequences as they kind of just mow through the people around them. She wants to be vaguely heroic, but she doesn't really have a sense of personal responsibility, and everything kind of feels like fun and games for her, at least at the inception of her character. She also manages to get her hands on a lot of really high-powered weaponry, and that obviously serves that kind of whole manic spirit she gets in the beginning. Really an interesting start to the character. I think that we get a lot more heart from this character when that unbelievable Gwenpool run really begins to pick up. Christopher Hastings really teases out the characteristics that make Gwenpool so appealing. While she is still rather manic, she's very warm, compassionate, and we see her grow to really care for a lot of the characters and supporting casts we have in her comic. What's interesting too is because she feels like she's the main feature of the actual Unbelievable Gwenpool series, she kind of believes that nothing really consequential or bad will happen to her because she's the main character. So she's able to get in some really daunting moments without really any fear of repercussions to herself. Of course, the same cannot be said for some of her other supporting cast, which she learns pretty rapidly in the series. I think an interesting thing to note as well is that while there are appearances of a lot of great Marvel characters like Miles Morales' Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, and so many more, her main cast is really either created by Christopher Hastings or are kind of secondary or tertiary characters like Batroc the Leaper, kind of an obscure Captain America villain, becomes sort of a supporting cast member and ally in her crew. We also have a couple other characters like Big Tony and Cecil and all these people that Hastings created, this kind of band of merry misfits who she initially finds herself bound to. Outside of that full 25-issue main series, we also have her appearance in a bunch of random comic book specials and appearances in other comic book runs. That's all done really nicely. You don't ever feel too thrown out of place. Everything feels very good cohesively within this book. I think a notable feature as well is that we also have the Gwenpool Strikes Back 5-issue miniseries, but also the full 10-issue West Coast Avengers run from Kelly Thompson, of which Gwenpool is part of the character list. That Avengers team is led by Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, with Clint Barton on the team as well, along with America Chavez. We have Kate Bishop's boyfriend during that period, Quentin Quire from the X-Men, of course Gwenpool, and a couple of others. That 10-issue series is a lot of fun, and it's really cool to have an entire run from a comic creator in this oversized format when the book is not even titled West Coast Avengers. It's titled Gwenpool, and that was just thrown in. What a cool feature. Gwenpool's incarnation in this series is definitely a little interesting, but overall, a really great collection. I think with a book of this breadth and scope, it's really cool to see how the main character develops throughout the sequence of series in this book. We also get some level of power with Gwenpool that I won't spoil here, but as you read through the run, they really do a creative approach to that fourth wall breaking in some really spectacular ways, I think. As we flip toward the end of the book here, though, I'll show you some of the extras we get with this collection. We get some production images, some variant cover art, a really great little handful of extras at the back of of this omnibus, which as a collector is one of my favorite things to see. I love when these books get packed out with extra bonus features like this. As a collector, it's just really fascinating to see kind of behind the curtain, behind the scenes, and just see what these comic creators really did. All these variant covers to see really a good showcasing of other artwork, things like that. And that's your quick overview of the Gwenpool Omnibus. Of course, there's much more to say about this collection, but I didn't want to present any spoilers in this video. If you'd like a full review, you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel, The Comic Book Report. I'll try to do a more extensive review in the coming weeks. And thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you want your own copy of the Gwenpool Omnibus or other comic book collected editions, please always check out organicpricedbooks.com. Thanks everyone, have a good one.